Yeah. Kuvav Amud Aleph. Yeah. 106A. We still haven't fixed that technical difficulties, but Mr. Shem will fix that up.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, my video doesn't record the audio. It only records the audio when I have my recording with the AirPods on. No, I have to change phones. This is a few years old.
This is the one you've been using for
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it just stopped.
Slowly, not all of a sudden. It slowly started getting worse. Anyway. Okay, so audio for now. 106A. We are, if you go to the narrow set of lines, you count up 3 lines. Amar Lahem. The line begins the word V'toila, Kolosai, Ba'acherim, and Amar Lahem. So the last thing we said was, Baalam, the wording in the verse, when Baalam leaves Balak, when he goes home, he tells Balak, I'll advise you on what to do with these people. And as we learned yesterday, the wording is such that it indicates that he's actually cursing himself rather than cursing the Jewish people, even though the intention is he's advising Balak, he's advising the Moabites how to take down the Jews. And this is the advice he's about to give him. And it's quite detailed, quite graphic, and obviously the details are all significant. And it plays out later when the Jews do succumb to the Moabites, right? Yeah, exactly, with the women. So that story, the precursor to that story, is right here, where Balaam gives this advice to Balak on how to take down the Jews, enticing them in such a way. So, but the way in which he tells them doesn't just say entice them. There's a whole detailed description.
Shows you his genius, even though it's for evil, but he was a very clever person.
Clearly, a very clever person.
Yeah, how he entices people. It's like the slippery slope.
But, obviously the slippery slope is the most obvious thing. He shows you how to go from one thing to the next, but the details of these things are obviously significant, and I encourage you to think about what these details might mean. Okay, Amar Lahem. So this is the advice that Balaam gives Balak and how to get the Jews to degenerate and thus be able to conquer them both physically, starting spiritually then physically. Spiritually first by enticing them to misbehavior, and then once that's compromised, the divine protection is compromised, and thus you can attack them physically. And this is what it tells them. So this is like this. First, the objective. Elohim shel Elu, the God of these people, the Jewish people, Soine Zima, hates lewdness. I guess that's the best way to translate that word Zima. Sorry? He is one who hates lewdness, promiscuity. Vehem, now the Jewish people, they're not necessarily, at least in stage 1, attracted to promiscuity. They're good people. But they have this one small weakness. Namely, Nesavim L'Kli Pishtan. They like clothing made out of linen. Again, details are very specific, and I encourage you to think about what these things mean. Why Pishtan? I don't know. This is what it says. They like clothing made out of linen. Now, combining these two factors together, I'll give you a advice. Make curtains, an enclosure out of curtains. So it's like Rashi describes it as like in a flea market, you'll have like each booth has like curtains hanging around him to section off his area. So make curtains, like an enclosed area. The point is that they shouldn't see what's inside. Yeah, the point is they shouldn't see what's inside. And hire professional entertainers, women, place them inside this enclosure, in the tent, in this enclosure, made of linen. No. The enclosure is made of anything. Now, Zakina Babachutz put an elder woman sitting outside this enclosure, so it looks innocent. Looks innocent. An older woman is sitting outside of a booth in the flea market, right? What's the big deal? But V'yalda put younger women on the inside. And once they enter, they're attracted by that. The Yimchu Lehen, Kli Plishtan. And she, the one on the outside, should be selling linen garments. In other words, she's sitting outside, she looks innocent, and all the ladies selling linen garments, and Jews love linen garments for some reason, and the Jews come up to buy the linen garments, and once they're inside, sorry, that's the bait. That's right, correct, it's the bait. And then once they walk inside, there's young women, and that's the way you attract them to transgress that which Hashem said, which Hashem doesn't like, which is promiscuity. End quote from Baalam. Now here's how they implement this. It's quite detailed. And then how they implement it gets even more detailed. So it says like this. So Balak went and made Kloyim, made these curtain enclosures, these booths, and so many of them, these like flea market booths with enclosures made out of curtains, and he made them extend Mehar Shalag from the mountain of snow, the Hermon mountain. So it seems like Shnir actually says the Hermon mountain, from the snow mountain, ad base Hayeshimos, until a place called Beis Hayeshimos, Beis Hayeshimot, however you pronounce it. I'm not sure what that location is. Do you know where that is? Beis Hayeshimot is. It seems from the Gemara's context that it's a massive swath of land. He set up these booths all the way from the Snow Mountain, which is in the north of Israel, Hermon, all the way to this place called Beis Hayeshimos, however that is. And he did what Balak told him. He hired elder women to sit outside, who were also prostitutes. That's the way the Gemara describes it, even though they weren't the ones engaging in this behavior. Doesn't seem like it at least, but they were hired women to sit outside to sell. It would seem, doesn't explicitly say that, but it seemed to sell this linen garments, and younger women on the inside. And when Jews are eating, drinking, and having a merry time, and then as a result of eating, drinking, and having a good time, they go for a stroll in the market. So they're already compromised before they come to the market. This is a detail that Baalam didn't tell him. Balaam didn't tell him. Balaam didn't tell him.
He knew it was
he just
happening.
yeah no he just said set these women up in the market with the bait of elder women selling linen. But when it actually plays out, it starts even earlier, where the Jews are eating, drinking, and being merry, presumably not in the realm of simcha shel mitzvah, joy out of doing a mitzvah. It seems just their own enjoyment, and that seems to be the first step, which Balaam didn't advise Balak, but that was the first step in the slow, slippery stuff of the Jews degenerating. Yeah. So they're eating, drinking, and having a good time, and they go out for a stroll in the market. So at Meres Leazakina, now the elder women who are sitting outside these little booths selling the linen, now they see these Jews who are already in a compromised state. They're in a happy, carefree mode. So they would say these elder women would say to the Jews, don't you want linen clothing? We got the most beautiful kinds. Come in. Now, to add to the tactic, Zakina, the elder woman, would tell the Jew that the price of linen, while sitting outside of his booths, Bishava, is equal to its market value, whatever it's worth. But Vialda, the young, good-looking girl sitting on the inside, Imeres would say to the Jew, two or three times the price, two or three times cheaper than the market value. Which would,
I think 2 or 3 times they sell 2 or 3 times.
No, I understood to mean 2 or 3 times cheaper.
No, they must be. They must see the base of Gimel Pamim. Do it 2 or 3 times to entice.
You saw the Meshavov. The Pachas, less than its value. Oh, okay. It doesn't say 2 or 3 times cheaper. They would do it cheaper 2 or 3 times, showing, look, it's cheaper, we're cheaper. Okay. Yeah, the bottom line is that
it's going to break the ice.
Yeah. So the women are outside selling at a full price. The younger women are sitting inside selling at a cheaper value, and they're the ones nudging, come by. So a few times nudging them to come and buy. But afterwards, okay, so now they're inside already. They're getting a cheaper version. They're getting cheaper linen, which is, for some reason, the Jews love it. And then afterwards, she would tell this Jew would come into the market. Sorry? Presumably it's men's clothing, yeah. Yeah. Sorry? This is not so, it sounds like a fantastical story from back in the day, but if you think about it, this is pretty much what every single mall does.
How do we know it's clothing? Maybe it's just the cloth.
Kli usually means like a ready-made clothing. Kli literally means a utensil, but it's a broad term that can mean a cup and can also mean a jacket. It means a ready-made item is a keli. Even in halachic terms, that's what it means. This is pretty much how every single mall works. That's what they do. Anyway, so it reminds me of a joke of the famous joke. They said a Jewish guy sitting outside of a church collecting money, and a pious-looking Christian sitting outside collecting money. You know the joke? And everybody would come out of church, and they would see the Jew sitting there collecting money, and they would see the pious-looking Christian collecting money, and everybody would give the pious-looking Christian, double, triple the amount just to stick it to the Jew. And then one day, a nice Christian walks out and goes to the Jewish guy and says, you're sitting in the wrong place. You're sitting here. Come on, you're not gonna make any money. So when he leaves, the pious-looking the Jew. The Jewish collector turns to the pious-looking Christian collector and says, he's telling us how to do business. So I think the older woman sitting outside selling at full price, and the younger woman sitting inside selling it at half price, or something like that. Anyway, so this Jew is now inside, and he's talking to this younger saleswoman, and essentially he's a prostitute. And Immediately she tells him, "Harei at ben bias." You're like Ben bias is a term to say you're very familiar with me. Literally means someone of the home. Like when you're Ben bias is often used, like just to give you an idea of what it means. Boys in yeshiva, and he gets invited to so and so's home all the time because he's out of town. Becomes a Ben bias there. When I was in yeshiva, there were certain homes that would invite me all the time, me and a friend of mine, whatever, two friends, and it became a Ben bias there. Whenever I needed something, I knocked on the door and I was hungry or I needed to use the laundry or something like that. Ben bias means you're familiar, not part of the family, but like you're an extended part of the family because you're there very often. So she's telling him, you're a Ben bias already. It's another sales tactic. All of a sudden they become your best friends,
Why? Because he's been there more than once?
Within 5 minutes. When you're in a mall, within 5 minutes, the salesperson is telling you how nice you are. Look, your dog is so beautiful. No. It could be.
He went back and forth a couple of times, did a couple of sales, then already now become a regular customer. Now you're regular friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually 2 or 3 times.
But even so, it happened. He doesn't connect that directly to the fact that he calls her Ben bias. But this is it could be, but this is it's an often sales tactic where you make the person feel like you and I are friends, right? We trust each other, right? We're such good friends already. I know how your dog is doing. I know how your grandkids are doing. And, become all of a sudden a good friend. So that's kind of what she's doing. Yeah. You're Ben bias. You're a close friend here already, right? So sit down. She tells him, choose for yourself. Choose what you want. Pick the best linen garments that we have. And she has next to her pictures of this Ammonite wine, which apparently is very good wine. But at that juncture, at that juncture, it was before the sages enacted a prohibition against wine from a non-Jew. So the wine is technically kosher. So far, the Jew feels like nothing's wrong here, right? I'm buying linen from an older woman and getting a cheaper price from a younger woman. She's being so nice to me. She's offering me some wine. She's giving me a good price. It's all great, right?
It's not idolatrous wine.
Well, it could have been, but it's before the prohibition. Or if it was directly idolatrous wine, you would not be allowed to drink it. But at the time, he had no reason to suspect that it was. Let's say, at least not at this point in the story, and it's technically kosher. The ingredients are all fully kosher. It's before the sages enacted a prohibition against all wine from a non-Jew, suspecting that it might be idolatry.
So I think in those days, drinking wine was like somebody serving you orange juice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wine was very plentiful. It wasn't a big.
So it seems like, yeah. Yeah, it seems like that. Even like soldiers would carry in their flasks instead of water, like wine. But anyway, we had before the wineskins. So Amalai, she would now tell him, I'm going to offer you a glass of wine. Here, we're such good friends. I'm giving you such a good deal. Come have a glass of wine with me. Kilin Shasasa, once he drank that wine, bar boy, his inclination started to get the best of him. Now already he's excited about this, about the situation, about the prospects of what this woman might have to offer. Amallah, she would tell him, Hashmili, listen to me. She would take out her little idol from her pocket. Amallah, and she would tell him, avoid lazeh. worship this little idol.
Probably in a subtle way, right? Not to say worship, but
Or probably more subtle, seductive, who knows? It gets to a certain point when a guy might say whatever he needs to just to get to where his Yetzer Hara is telling him to go.
yeah.
It's the nature of man. Right? Gemara elsewhere says, and I quote, "The little finger you made controls everything." That's the direct quote from the Gemara. Maybe I missed. That's the Gemara quote. Anyway, so she would say to him, "Serve this little idol, and then you'll get what you want." I'm Allah, so she would tell him, "Hello, Yehudi, I'm a Jew. I'm a Jew." I'm Allah, and she would say to him, "Umay plus lach klum. What do you care? Klum of amay plus lach. What do you care? Klum of akshim emach. What am I asking you to do already? Ella pure. Just relieve yourself. I'm not even asking you to bow down, give it a kiss. Just relieve yourself.
Just what?
Relieve yourself. Relieve yourself. Yeah, like going to the bathroom. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's one of the.
That's correct. For this particular, that's correct. But who in and he doesn't know, the Jew doesn't know, that the service of this type of idol is to relieve yourself. Moreover, she would say to him, I won't let you go until you will deny the Torah of Moshe, your teacher. So first they're having a good time at home. Then they're in a merry state, hanging out in the market. Some reason this linen garment is the bait. And then they come inside and they become friendly with a nice young woman and have a glass of wine. It's no big deal. Okay, I'm just relieving myself. It's also not such a big deal. Until finally, he's engaged with a woman and he's denying the Baal Pa'or. He's denying the Torah of Moshe. So Shenemar, the verse reads, Hema Bo Baal Pa'or. They arrived at the people of the Pa'or, to the idols of the Pa'or, the Nazru, the Boishas, and they've disintegrated into embarrassment. Meaning they behaved embarrassingly, relieving yourself. The Yush Kutzim Ba'avam, and they became disgusted with the beloved. Again, this disgusting version of worshipping some idol. Okay, so that's the end of the story. What's one of the, okay, first of all, it's the obvious lesson of it's only harmless flirting. It's not such a big deal. Sharing a glass of wine, all that stuff is poison. Yeah,
There's no physical relations.
It seems it ends off with that. Yeah, well, the Torah, right. We're talking about Moav, the story of Moav, where the Jews engaged with the story, like you mentioned, with Pinchas. It's implied. It doesn't state so clearly.
Yeah, it's like the objective was only to get him to deny.
Yeah, but it seems from the way it played out, it's true. From the Gemara's description here, it doesn't say directly that she did that, but from the way it plays out in the pasuk, it seems that they did. I mean, it's clear that they did. But the ultimate objective, of course, is the idol worship thing. It seems like, at least. But the first thing sorry.
This is like a model illustration of how the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah, this is a model of the progress.
Works on a yid.
Yes, this is a model of the Hayom
It starts out slowly and progresses until the
like the Gemara says elsewhere. Today it says to do this, and then tomorrow it tells you to do that, and tells you to do that, until finally you get to.
It's an elaborate deception.
Sorry?
It's
a very elaborate deception. Yes, I would still like to see if someone could think of what the significance of the linen garments is. I'm sure there's some historical reason for why the Jews like linen garments, maybe because that wasn't prevalent in Egypt, and then it was like this exotic way of getting dressed when they came out of Egypt. I don't know.
It must be prestigious just for some reason. Maybe it's because the clothing of the Kohen was linen, and so maybe
the clothing of the Kohen was linen only on Yom Kippur, right? The white clothing.
But the regular Kohen.
The regular Kohen was linen. Yeah.
There must be some prestigious aspect to it.
Yeah, but it sounds like it's unique to the Jews. Like the Balak is saying, these guys love not like everybody loves linen garments. These guys like it for some reason.
I think it ties into this because if linen is prestigious because of it's involved in our divine service, all the more so coming for the linen garment and worship an idol. It's like even like
so packaging the sin in a mitzvah
in something which is considered to be prestigious because of their divine service. It could be that.
It's like the Yetzer Hara that's the Chassidic saying is the Yetzer Hara dressed in a kapata.
Yeah.
Right, the Yetzer Hara puts on a Chassidic garb, and tells you you're behaving all holy, when in reality, it's a good point. But another thing that's interesting is that all the way till the end, even as the Jew is worshiping idol, he's not doing it because he wants to. Even as she's there and she tells him, just serve this idol and I'll let you go. He says, no, but I'm Jewish. And then she tells him, what's the big deal? You're just relieving yourself. And the Gemara said that he doesn't know that that's the way to serve it. In other words, even as he is betraying Hashem, there's some part of him that doesn't want to. And he's convincing himself that I'm not doing anything terrible. Look, I'm just relieving myself. It's not so terrible. Right? So even as he's doing the sin, he's not doing it because, he wants to stick it to Hashem. In the back of his head, he's telling himself, it's okay. It's not so bad. It's not so bad. Which points to a certain part of the Jew that would never sin, which leads to the very next Gemara and the way Chassidus reads it. So keep this little thought in mind, this idea that even as he's sinning, the Jew is thinking that it's not bad. It's okay. And this connects to the next Gemara, which is mamish the way Chassidus learns it. So the next pasuk is like this: Vayeshiv Yisrael b'Shittim. The Jews dwelled in Shittim. This is a pasuk in Midbar, which is where they begin to behave. This is where the story plays out. It plays out in a place called Shittim, where the Moabites enticed them. Right, that's the name of the pasuk. The rest of the pasuk. The Jews dwell in Shittim, and the nation began to behave promiscuity with the daughters of Moab. That's this pasuk. So why Shittim? I'm sure you guessed it already. Rabbi Lezer says Shittim Shema. Okay, just the name of the place is called Shittim. Don't get too excited about what the verse means. But Rabbi Shua says, why is it called Shittim? The word Shittim comes from the term shtus, which means to behave foolishly. And this harkens to the Gemara in Saita, which says, Ein Adam Over Avera, a person will never do an Avera, Elam Kain, only if Nitnas Boy, that gets into him, Ruach Shtus, a spirit of foolishness. So what's the foolish idea that the Torah tells you? So in different places it explains what in different ways. Even within Chassidus there are different types of descriptions of what the foolishness is. For example, in Kuntres Hamayan, one of the ways in which each video has actually a few different explanations for what the foolishness of the Yetzer Hara is. What's the stupid idea that the Yetzer Hara convinces you? And one of them is that the Yetzer Hara tells you that this is pleasurable, that the behavior is pleasurable. In reality, if you sat down to think about it logically, you would think, the Rashab goes through a whole system. There's layers and layers of pleasure in life, right? There's going from the bottom upward. There's the pleasures of just eating and drinking, and above that you have the pleasures of, let's say, music, the pleasures of art, the pleasures of idea, the pleasure of spirituality, and then beyond all that is the pleasure of godliness. So it's foolish to think that I'm going to give up on the ultimate highest pleasure for a human being and give it up for the most basest of pleasures, just engaging in eating and drinking, which cows do also. It's one level of foolishness, convincing you that this pleasure is worth it rather than higher pleasures in life. Another one that the Chassidus talks about, and this is what I was referring to, which originates in Tanya, which is the Yetzer Hara tells you you're still an okay Jew. You're still an okay Jew. It's not such a big deal. Right? This is what the Tanya uses to point to the Etzem Neshama, the essential Yid that every single Yid has. Because once a Jew is clear, and a Jew knows 100% that bowing down to that idol worship, like disconnecting from Hashem, he'll give up everything rather than to do that. Now the reality is every single sin is a disconnect from Hashem. So why does he sin then? If I'm willing to give up my life rather than disconnect from Hashem, so how is it that I'm doing a sin and that sin disconnects me from Hashem? There's the foolish idea. I'm thinking, it's not such a big deal. You're still connected to Hashem. It's only a small little sin. It's not such a big deal. Right? Which points to two things. Number one, be wary of this foolishness. Every sin is a disconnect from Hashem. Right? Number one. On the other hand, it also tells you that as far as I'm concerned, I would never betray Hashem. It's just this foolish idea that gets into my head. And that's indicated in the story. That even as he's engaging in all these terrible behaviors, the Gemara makes note. The Gemara doesn't say that the Jew drank the wine because a good-looking woman gave it to her. The Gemara has to comment, and the Torah yet had prohibited this wine, as if to say, had the Jew known for sure this is a forbidden act, he wouldn't drink the wine, right? So as the Yetzer Hara is taking you down the line, part of what the Yetzer Hara tells you is that it's okay, it's kosher wine, you're just relieving yourself. It's not such a, you're not like bowing down.
You have to relieve yourself anyway, right?
Exactly.
So don't do it now instead of 5 minutes later.
Exactly. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. And that's the biggest hook. It's how it tells you is it's not such a big deal. It's not such a big deal. And then finally, by the end, you're denying you're denying, before you know it, you're denying the truth of Torah.
But he started out drinking the wine in the situation where there's an attractive woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the first slippery slope.
That's right. That's right. The first slippery slope is, it's no big deal. It's harmless flirting. It's just a harmless drink. It's not such a big deal.
You go to a nightclub or anything.
That's correct.
Play around in modern terms.
Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be a nightclub. It can be in holy places, like you were saying. The holy packaging can happen even in holy places. It's not a big deal. It's not such a big deal. It's we're just having a drink. We're just having a good time. We're having a nice laugh. It's not such a big deal, right?
Besides, I'm getting a discount.
I'm getting a discount.
It's a
Yeah, I'm getting a discount on the jacket for sure.
Sure.
Exactly. All of these things. Anyway, we can analyze the story forever.
Save, I can get more tobacco. I can rationalize it all.
Yeah. That's the first thing Torah tells you. It's not such a big deal. It's not such a big deal. And then when it comes to doing tshuva, that also becomes a thing. One of the Alter Rebbe describes at length tumtum alev, which is a person with a blocked heart. It means you can't feel, you can't get emotions going for Hashem. And what it comes down to there is the Yetzer Hara telling you that, what it comes down to is a person feels like, I'm okay, I'm a good guy. Because he thinks he's a good guy, you can't, emotions come when he has to move, he has to do something, he feels, you're attracted to something, you're afraid of something, there's some movement, just not static. When a person feels like everything's fine, that's the beginning, that's where he can't get any feelings, any emotions. And out there goes through a whole lengthy exercise where a person should consider, no, it's not fine. That little act you did what you thought was no big deal, no, it is a big deal. That act disconnected you from Hashem, and it did this and this to your neshama, and this and this and this, and it did this, it hurt Hashem in such and such a way, and it did this and this to your neshama. Thinking about and understanding this is very important. As the Yetzer Hara over here says, it's kosher wine. Torah didn't say it's permissible, it's forbidden yet. You're just going to the bathroom. It's not such a big deal.
It's curtains, it's private.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm making a public thing. It's really,
and you're getting linen garments, which you're gonna take to the Kohen to the Beis Hamikdash.
all good.
Yeah. Be very wary of this kind of stuff. Yeah. Okay, tomorrow Hashem comes to the next line of another line in the Gemara, which actually further compound this idea. How all this starts when a person disengages from properly studying Torah, as we'll learn tomorrow, God willing.